This is Dr. Mariah White, host of Your Life Matters. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hitting is 50% above the shoulders and 50% below the ankle, so what do you use the rest of your body for? Welcome to Completely Serious. That catchphrase was submitted by Theodore Williams. Thank you, Theodore, for that generous submission. Welcome to Completely Serious, the show where we have fun and talk sports. That is our catchphrase. We use it liberally, and we are officially in August. You can't dispute the fact. August has begun, football's around the corner, but we don't want to jump the gun because it's still baseball season, and it's the most important month in the MLB. As we're getting down to the playoffs, I guess maybe September or October might be a little bit more important, but August is very important, and which is why we're bringing on one of the foremost baseball minds in the country. His play-by-play calls have gone viral, or at least viral enough to where I've seen them. Joey Zanaboni is a play-by-play broadcaster for the Texas Airhogs, also calls games for West Florida Athletics. Joey, thanks for jumping on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for the generous introduction. Really appreciate that.
No, we're glad to have you. I love your play-by-play calls. They're good, and there's something to it that other broadcasters don't have. And when I say we, I mean myself and my producer, who I pretend to have, thought you'd be a great person to come on the show because you expertly blend comedy and sports, and you obviously talk sports and have fun doing it. With your use of simile, do you mind giving the listeners a taste by sharing some of the favorite ones maybe you've used in your broadcast in the past?
Oh, wow. Well, a lot of times I use them and kind of just forget about them.
Sure.
I think one that's kind of popped up a few times this season, just I guess seeing it on my friends' social media pages and fans and stuff, it's been this guy's been hotter than spilled oatmeal on a Selena Gomez poster. That one was probably my favorite one. But I'm a big-time Selena Gomez fan. I'm not coming on here to try to run away from that. I'm also a big oatmeal fan. I try to keep it in the bowl and not spill it. But that would probably be my favorite one that I've used. I think there have been a couple other ones that haven't maybe gotten as much publicity or has gone as viral on LinkedIn or on Instagram or anything like that. I think one I did during the college season that I don't think anybody's ever really said back to me or anything like that, but that I loved was he shaved the outside corner like a test mannequin at a barber college, and that was a good one too. So yeah, it's a good list. It's an ever-growing list. I hope to add a couple more highlights here tonight after my game.
Yeah, we're hoping maybe the CEO of an oatmeal company or Selena Gomez herself, maybe she's listening, and that can help your endorsement with them. That'd be great because we really like them. I think they're hilarious, and like I said, something a little bit different, which is always great when there's so many broadcasters out there and so much baseball being played. You add something new, so we like it.
Well, hey man, you can forget about the oatmeal company as long as Selena's listening. That's all I really care about.
Okay, so where do these come from? Are you inspired by literature, the great poets of our time, hip-hop artists? Who? Selena Gomez herself. Who inspires you with these great similes and comparisons?
I think it's just a mix.
Okay.
I mean, I was a literature major in college, so
there we go.
I still read quite a bit, and just different sources, fiction, nonfiction, stuff like that, and I think I kind of just, somewhere in my mind, just usually end up fusing two unlike things together in kind of a funny way. I'm not sure exactly where it comes from, but it's just something I've been doing for a long time. I'll say that when I was young, when I was a kid, I have an older brother and I have 4 younger sisters. And so my brother was a college-level soccer player, and growing up he was a really good soccer player. He played travel and he played for schools, teams, and stuff like that. And when we were really young, I used to sit on the sidelines and sort of announce the games for my sisters as they unfolded. And that was kind of the start, I guess. And just having that entertaining kind of knack, I think, sort of started to germinate there.
I like your origin story because so oftentimes you hear broadcasters talk about how they started announcing video games or something nerdy like turning down the volume on their TV and announcing their own games. You're somewhat charitable here. You're doing a good deed for your sister, and now it's carried over into your play-by-play career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really where I think of it as starting, and I think the key in this business is talking, usually in an empty room or an empty booth other than yourself, talking like you're talking to a close friend or a family member. And so I still think back on that and still think about what were some of the things that I was trying to do even when I was young, just to connect with people, and that's been a major theme for me. That's
such a great way to look at it. They say baseball is the one sport you can see on the radio. Do you think there maybe is some level of truth to that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that baseball announcing is something that I love to listen to, especially when I'm in a car and you're just looking at the road and the way the game can come to life in front of you, even when it's just cornfields and pavement on either side. It's something magical, and it's something that any broadcaster has felt. To do this professionally, you have had to have felt that at some time when you were a kid or when you were in high school or college. The magic of words bringing pictures into your mind and bringing your mind to life.
I want you to play Nostradamus and tell me who is coming out of these playoff races in the MLB. The National League appears, at least right now, to be pretty wide open. The American League is between about 6 teams maybe. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, the American League last year, I picked the Indians, and I thought Cleveland was going to do it. They played pretty well here. I know they've had some questions about the bullpen this season. I'm not quite ready to double back down and pick them. I gotta go with the defending champs. I gotta go with the Astros coming out of the American League. They've had a great season. I think they're about 28-29 over 500 right now. I know the Mariners have given them a little challenge. The Athletics are playing well in that Western Division, but I'm going with the Stros over the Sox, Red Sox coming out of the American League, and then the National League. Boy, that one's harder to project.
There's like 8 teams that are almost. I'm a Cubs fan, but I'm not real confident in them. There's like 8 teams that are really dead even. It's really tough to pick.
Yeah, and I would never pick the Cubs because I grew up in St. Louis, just FYI. So I can't. I've already crossed them off this list, even though they're having a great season. But I mean, I'd say you got to go with. I'd say with Machado going to the Dodgers. I'm going to go ahead and I'll say Los Angeles. I'll say it'll be a nice Dodgers, Astros. Why not one more time?
Yeah, the rematch. That'd be fun. Okay. Independent and minor league baseball parks have so many gimmicks, and I'm sure you're used to that. In Texas, they help get people in the door besides a great baseball product. The gimmicks do a great job. The games, the promotions, those sort of things. You've watched these. I want you to give me the inside scoop on how to win some of these contests. So I'm going to give you a contest that is played between innings at a baseball game, and I know you've seen so many of these played. I would think maybe you have some sort of strategy that you've been able to pick up on, and I want you to give maybe the listener a tip on how to win these basic in-between innings contests. The first one is one of the most popular, and that is the Dizzy Bat Race. And it's just not at baseball games. You can play it in your backyard, and it often is. But if you're in a Dizzy Bat Race, you've watched probably a fair amount of these. What's a tip? How do you win those?
Antacid. Eat some Tums beforehand. That's my advice. That's what I would do, my friend. I don't care if it's Tums or Pepto-Bismol. Whatever you got to do, because the stomach is going to control everything in that game. You don't want to end up chucking up a couple hot dogs and a box full of Cracker Jacks. Seen that happen a time or two in the Dizzy Bat Race. So keep the stomach calm, and then everything else will follow from there.
I like it. So you're not thinking about the dizziness. You're thinking about just surviving the race without upchucking. I think that's smart. I think that's what you want to do first.
Well, those are the real winners,
yeah.
my friend. If you're willing to lose a couple pounds out there to win a stuffed animal or something, then hey, more power to you. But some of us got to go on living here.
Tug of war. What's the key to winning a tug of war, a popular in-between innings contest at a minor league game?
Give free tickets away at Gold's Gym. Get some good people on your team. If it's a multi-person type deal, if it's one-on-one, then you're out there in the storm by yourself. I don't know if there's a lot you're going to be able to do except just set those feet and try to use your lower half to counteract the forces of friction and gravity.
One more, a dance-off. What is the go-to dance move that gets you a win in a dance-off competition?
Wow. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, I guess if you can do the sprinkler, the human sprinkler, the type thing, that is something that really gets me on your side in your corner, especially if it's a turf field. If you're doing a human sprinkler on a turf field, that's funny. There's a level of irony to it. I think that would get you points with me.
I was going to say that's very ironic to be doing that. Or maybe, I'm trying to think of something that is on the flip side ironic for a grass field. I'd have to think about that one. But, yeah, you're right. The sprinkler on a turf field is very funny. What's one promotion or gimmick that you would like to see that you've maybe thought of in your mind but it's never been implemented, or one that maybe you've seen rarely that you like? What is one that you'd like to see more often?
That's a great question as well. Boy, if I had to see one, I'm a big bathrobe guy. I'd like to see more bathrobe giveaways. They don't necessarily have to be great bathrobes. They can be thin, just sort of cloth. Don't necessarily have to be wool.
Would be interesting. Yeah, wood. That would be an interesting bathrobe. Yeah,
wool, but just something people can wear around. I'm definitely on the side of pro sort of bathrobe giveaways. First 500 fans, first 5,000 fans, give them all bathrobes and see what happens from there.
I got an idea for an interesting in-between innings game involving a winner getting a bathrobe, and this might be something that has to be done on adult night. You get 3 presumably men out in the middle of the field between innings, and you have the crowd judge which one needs a bathrobe the most, and they're in a Speedo. So they're out there, and the crowd's going to say, we need to cover this guy up with a bathrobe as quick as possible. And the guy that gets the most cheers, gets the bathrobe.
Hey, man, as long as I'm not participating, then whatever works.
Broadcasters all have a favorite announcer, or at least an announcer they really like. Who is yours? Yeah. Here's a tough one. We've had this done maybe once really well. It's a tough one to do. Who is your favorite announcer? And if you were to announce a very small portion, maybe 10 seconds of your day, what would it sound like?
Well, I think the guy that I really admired growing up and the guy that really made me want to get into sports announcing was Ken Wilson, who was the voice of the St. Louis Blues and did some work with the Cardinals as well, but mostly was famous for his hockey. He was in St. Louis for about 20 years. And, being from St. Louis, Missouri, that's really the mecca of sports announcing, I think, whether it's Bob Costas coming through there, Jack Buck, Joe Buck being born there and raised there and eventually working for the Cardinals just like his dad. There's so many great announcers. But Ken Wilson, for me, with some of those great Blues teams in the late 90s and early 2000s with Chris Pronger, Al McInnes, Pierre Turgeon, Pavel Demitra, Grant Fuhr, he brought those games to life. And he had TV and radio, everything worked for him. His voice was perfect, the excitement that he brought to the game, the knowledge, the smooth delivery, everything. And really it was that call, though, that signature line of his, that, "Oh, baby!" It was something that just made my hair stand on end on my neck. And so I wish that he still did sports announcing. I know he's actually involved in a summer collegiate baseball league out west that's doing really well, and he's the president and I think the commissioner of the league. And he's been involved on the baseball side for so many years. Actually, a team that I kind of started my independent professional career with, the River City Rascals, was actually originally, I think, founded by Ken Wilson. He was one of the partners when he was still in St. Louis. So I really wish that he would come back and just maybe announce maybe a Blues game or two. I know he's kind of in sort of retirement now, and I know things didn't really end as well as they could have between himself and the Blues, but I wish there was some way they could get him back for just a couple of games, because I really loved him. And you're saying I should announce 10 seconds of my day like Ken Wilson?
Is that possible? You could maybe like getting out of bed or
well,
what
I'm
you
going to
do in
be
the morning?
embarrassed. I'm going to be embarrassed. Ken's going to hear this and say, "Hey, you're a pale imitation there, friend."
He is a dedicated listener. We have heard from him.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a very big, interesting guy. I'm actually away from sports announcing. I'm probably about as bland as a piece of wheat bread with non-fat butter on it. But I guess I was just driving through Schlotsky's, picking up a little salad a couple hours ago. So I guess I could do a little Ken Wilson.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know if this would be as exciting as Ken Wilson, but
clear the throat.
And the Volvo pulls into the drive-through window. It's up the boards. Here comes the money. Here comes the credit card. Oh, baby, transaction approved. What a moment here at Slotsky's drive-through in Fort Worth, Texas. I don't believe it. Oh, baby, they're delirious today at the Slotsky's.
Well done. Oh, my goodness. You should submit that to like a Broadcasters Guild Award or something. That was fantastic. Very good.
Baby, you gotta send me the file of this. I'll send it right to Ken. That's
Perfect.
kind of a goal of mine because I do know people from his involvement in the summer collegiate league out west who have either worked for his team or just met him and all this. And so I know he's still accessible. He's very accessible to broadcasters. I would love to just pick his brain for even just 20, 30 minutes about all the things that he did so well and also just maybe why he doesn't do it anymore. I mean, I think Ken Wilson was every bit as good as the greatest of all time, Vin Scully, and the greatest of all time also Jack Buck. And those guys worked all the way into their 70s and 80s, and obviously Vin was in his late 80s last year when he hung it up and so forth. But I kind of am curious why Ken Wilson hasn't been quite as involved on the broadcast side as he's gotten older, which is his choice. And I mean, I understand
Sure.
It's such a grind, and he's got so many businesses that have done so well, and different ventures, different things that he's wanted to do. So I mean, I understand it, but I would love to just pick his brain about how he kind of went a different direction as he got older and kind of stopped doing it quite as much.
I think that's something a lot of people may not realize is, yes, we have Vin Scully's incredible, Joe Buck's incredible, but there's so many broadcasters that never go to that level, but they're kind of in that middle area or at a very high area in St. Louis, but they're not quite at that national level that are just as good, if not better. They just never chose to go that extra distance. It's probably comparable to maybe a field like acting, where you'll see a lot of extremely talented actors stay as stage actors or do a couple independent films and never go for the big blockbuster. It's just kind of how they went, but I don't think maybe people from the outside realize how many talented broadcasters there are that don't make it to the Joe Buck level that are very good.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. For me, I mean, sports announcing is really a local product more than anything, and the national big wigs, big dudes, the Joe Bucks and these types, I mean, those are more the exceptions. Baseball announcing is something that's remarkably easy to do with all the ways that we have to broadcast now, whether it's going live on Facebook or it's just talking to somebody on your phone, making a recording on your phone. There's so many different means and ways to do a broadcast. That's why I'm so bullish about the future and so excited for the future of sports announcing, because I think we're going to have more voices, more individual voices, less imitation, people finding satisfaction and finding ways to spread their announcing without having to sign a contract with Fox Sports or having to sign a contract with ESPN. Now, don't get me wrong. If one of those contracts made it my way, I consider it extremely carefully. But, I think at the same time, for me, it's all about what happens on a person-to-person basis. And when you're in small communities like I've been, where you're working in a town of maybe 15, 16,000 people, and you're close to a team, and you're the person who's giving sort of a narrative backbone to what's happening on the field and what's transpiring across the course of the season. I mean, those relationships are extremely special. Those relationships with the fans and the players and the coaches and the people on the administrative side and who work in the front office, those relationships are unbelievably fulfilling and important. And really what I've been staking my life on over the last 4 or 5 years as I've gotten into sports announcing professionally full time since I graduated college in 2013. I mean, that's a huge part of what's kept me going and kept me grinding out here. And I'm just glad people are taking notice and maybe starting to turn on a little bit to some of these ideas about sports announcing becoming something that I think it was originally meant to be.
Sure.
I don't think sports announcing was supposed to be a corporate tool or a tool of the advertising industry. I think sports announcing is especially baseball announcing. I'll talk maybe just exclusively about baseball announcing. Baseball announcing, I think, is one of those true original American art forms, like the Western or like jazz. And it gives the individual in America a voice. And I think it's something that sometimes we think of as maybe being part of the past. We think more of the Vin Scolis and the Jack Bucks and the Red Barbers and the Mel Allens and the other great voices of years past, the Harry Careys. But we don't always think of it as something that's going to carry into the future. But I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm very bullish about where we're going. I'm very excited about where we're going as a business and, more importantly, as an art form.
Joey Zanaboni, thanks for jumping on the podcast. I actually have one more question to throw your way.
Sure.
And that would have been a great way to end it. That was fantastic. But I want to know, I need to know, a hypothetical question to close out. You're going to a party, and you can bring 3 professional baseball players with you. I want to know who you're bringing and why. I have 3. I'll give you my reasons to give you some time to think about it. My 3 are Javi Baez, because he's El Mago and everyone likes magic. Charlie Blackmon, because he just looks like he parties hard with the hair and the beard. And Clayton Kershaw, because, he lives out in L.A. and he should have a posse with him. At least you'd like to think that. But what about you? If you could pick 3 baseball players to bring to a party, and there's probably many that we could pick for many reasons, who are 3 that you would take and why?
Wow, I'd have to start with Ozzie Smith, all-time Cardinal great. I grew up watching as a kid. I don't know that there's ever been a more charismatic ball player in my lifetime than Ozzie Smith, so I'd certainly love to have him at any party I was at. After that, do I have to do players, or could I do coaches as well?
Anybody in baseball. We'll extend this invitation to coaches too.
I'll say, I'll do a manager. I'll take Joe Madden.
Oh yeah,
at a party any day, and glasses or no glasses, he's welcome either way. And then the third, if I had to pick a third player, I guess I would have to go with my guy Max Scherzer.
Yeah,
just staying in from that Missouri connection and that St. Louis connection. I mean, Max Scherzer is man. I mean, he's got to be. I mean, with the injuries that Kershaw has gone through, and as good as he's been, I mean, it's hard to say Max Scherzer is the best pitcher in baseball, but gosh darn, we're lucky to watch that guy pitch, and I just love what he's done. He actually played in the American Association very briefly at the outset of his professional career, which is where I announce now.
Sure.
Been here for the last 3 years, so I'd have to go with those 3. I'll say Smith, Madden, and Scherzer. Sounds like a good time.
That's a good crew. Joey Zanaboni, thanks for jumping on the podcast. Can you remind people where they can find you, where they can hear you call games, where they can find your work on the internet, your social media stuff? Where can people find you?
Absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate you having me again, and it's been a real pleasure to be with you. You can find me at Joey_Zana. That's JOEY_ZANA. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. I think I've got a lot of good material up there. If you want to listen live, you can go to AmericanAssociationBaseball.tv. You can also find me live on Mixler.com/TXAirHogs. That's MIXLR.com/TXAirHogs. We're on pretty much every night. We're about 70% of the way through our 100-game season, so there's still about another month, mostly 7 o'clock start times there. And you just follow me on social media at Joey_Zana, or find me using the hashtag LCRR. That's LCRR. You can follow me that way, and I usually post up links to the live broadcast as well. So just remember that LCRR calling card, and you'll find me quickly enough.
Joey Zanaboni, one of the most creative play-by-play broadcasters out there. Thanks for jumping on the podcast, and thank you to the listener for tuning in on Public House Media. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. This has been Completely Serious.